Imagine standing on the dusty plains of ancient Mesopotamia. The air is thick. It tastes of copper and impending doom. High above, the sky turns the color of a bruised plum. For weeks, the priests have warned of divine wrath. The gods are tired of our noise. They are tired of our violence. They are ready to open the floodgates of heaven and wash the earth clean. You brace for the first drop. You wait for the cataclysm. But it never comes. The clouds simply drift away, leaving behind a scorching, indifferent sun. What if the greatest reset button in human mythology was never pushed? What if the Great Flood never happened? Across almost every ancient culture, from the banks of the Euphrates to the high peaks of the Andes, a terrifying story persists. A global deluge that wiped out humanity, leaving only a chosen few to rebuild. It is a myth of destruction, but also of rebirth. A clean slate. But if we strip away the water, we are left with a terrifying reality. Without the flood, humanity is never forced to start over. And that means the world we know today would be unrecognizable. To understand this unwashed world, we have to look at what the flood allegedly destroyed. In ancient lore, the pre-flood era was a time of giants and monsters. The Nephilim. It was an age where humans lived for hundreds of years, accumulating centuries of knowledge, wealth, and malice. Picture a world populated by rulers who do not die of old age. Kings who rule for 900 years. Without the flood to sweep them away, these immortal tyrants continue to rule. Generation after generation, their power consolidates. There is no generational shift, no new ideas, no progress. Just a stagnant, suffocating hierarchy that hardens like concrete. And then, there is the population explosion. In a world where nobody dies of old age and families keep growing for centuries, the earth quickly becomes crowded. Very crowded. By the time of the Bronze Age, the Fertile Crescent is already buckling under the weight of billions. Imagine the valleys of the Tigris and Euphrates, not as cradlelands of simple farming villages, but as a sprawling, unbroken megalopolis. A Bronze Age Tokyo. Smoke rises from millions of copper-smelting hearths. The forests of Lebanon are cleared in a matter of decades to feed the insatiable demand for fuel. The air turns grey. The rivers turn black. But here is the twist. The geography of our world itself would be completely different. Many scientists believe the global flood myths were inspired by real, localized catastrophes like the sudden, violent filling of the Black Sea basin or the melting of the ice sheets. If these events never happened, the map of the ancient world remains unbroken. Great land bridges persist. The Mediterranean might be a series of dry, salty basins rather than a vast sea. Without the natural barrier of the sea, empires do not need ships. They build roads. Endless, paved highways stretching from the heart of Europe deep into Africa. Military expansion becomes unstoppable. The concept of isolated cultures vanishes. Instead, we get a single, massive, global empire of iron and clay, thousands of years before its time. But the most devastating change isn't physical. It is psychological. Think about the stories we tell ourselves. The myth of the flood is, at its core, a story about morality. It teaches us that our actions have cosmic consequences. It tells us that the universe cares about justice, that there is a line of wickedness we cannot cross without triggering a reset. It gave humanity a collective conscience, a fear of divine retribution. Now, take that away. Without the flood, the gods are seen as powerless. They threatened to destroy the world, and they failed. Or worse, they simply did not care. The moral covenant between humanity and the divine is never written. There is no rainbow in the sky. No promise of mercy. Religion evolves not as a quest for righteousness, but as a transaction of raw power. Human sacrifice becomes the global norm, a desperate attempt to appease silent, indifferent deities. Nihilism becomes the dominant philosophy of the ancient world. If there is no cosmic reset, if the wicked live for 1,000 years without punishment, then power is the only truth. Might makes right. Absolutely. This moral void accelerates a dark, technological evolution. Without the interruption of the flood, human ingenuity never suffers a dark age. We do not lose the secrets of metallurgy, architecture, or astronomy. But this technology isn't used to build a utopia. It is weaponized to control the teeming, desperate masses. By the time the year zero rolls around on our calendar, this alternate Earth has already reached the Industrial Revolution. But it is an industrial revolution fueled by bronze, wood charcoal, and millions of slaves. Picture towering ziggurats made of crude concrete, belching black soot into a permanent twilight. Picture steam-powered chariots clattering through crowded, disease-ridden slums. It is a world of absolute order, but zero progress. A prison planet of our own making. The flood was a tragedy of mythic proportions. It drowned a world. But in doing so, it gave us a second chance. It forced us to scatter, to learn humility, to build new languages, new cultures, and new ways of thinking. It washed away the ancient giants so that ordinary humans could finally breathe. Without that watery grave, we would still be living under the shadows of 900-year-old kings, choking on the smog of an overpopulated Bronze Age nightmare. Sometimes, the worst thing that can happen to a civilization is that it gets exactly what it wants. Survival, without redemption. If this journey into the dark corners of lost timelines gripped your imagination, there are many more secrets waiting to be uncovered. Peer into the dark waters of history with us. Hit that subscribe button, and let us explore the next great what if together. Until next time.